We're good.
Good evening. It is 5:30 on Tuesday, February 16th, 2021, and this regular meeting of the Sandpoint Planning and Zoning Commission is now called to order. For the record, I am Chairman Jason Welker, presiding in council chambers at City Hall, 1123 West Lake Street in Sandpoint, Idaho. Also present are Commissioners John Hastings, Kate Gleesman, Tom Riggs, Slade Camp, Forrest Shuck, and Mo Dunkel.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just for clarification, Commissioner Shuck is absent.
Oh,
currently.
he is not here, correct. Mr. Shuck is not participating tonight. Commissioners Gleesman, Riggs are participating remotely.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Commissioner Shuck has just joined us.
Oh, welcome, Forrest. Okay, so all commissioners are present. We're going to start with a vote to amend the agenda. Before we proceed, the agenda for this evening's meeting was amended earlier today with the removal of item 6B, which was to be a public hearing on a request for variance at 1300 Garden Street. That request has been rescinded by the applicant, therefore the public hearing is canceled. Pursuant to Idaho Code Section 74-204-4B, an amended meeting agenda posted less than 48 hours prior to the meeting shall not become effective unless a motion is made at the meeting and the governing body votes to amend the agenda. Therefore, I would entertain a motion to amend the agenda with the removal of item 6B, variance public hearing.
So moved.
I so move.
Okay, this will be a roll call vote. If the clerk would please call for the vote.
Commissioner Huseman,
Yay.
Commissioner Riggs,
Yes.
Commissioner Shuck,
Yes.
Commissioner Camp,
Yes.
Commissioner Hastings,
Yes.
Commissioner Welker,
Yes.
Commissioner Dunkel.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes. Okay, item 3 on the agenda is announcements and general public comments. Are there any general announcements or reports from the commissioners?
No.
Okay, none. Are there any members of the public participating remotely on Zoom who wish to address the commission on a general matter other than this evening's public hearing? Please raise your hand. Clerk.
Give them just a moment here. We do have a couple of members of the public participating. And I do not see any hands raised, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, then we'll move on to item 4, which is the meeting minutes approval. Next on the agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes from the commission's last meeting. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from February 2nd, 2021 regular meeting.
So moved.
Go ahead.
Okay, I hear a motion. Who made that motion? Was that?
That was me, Shook.
Okay, Forrest.
I'll second.
Okay, and John. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, motion passes and the minutes are approved. There is no old business on the agenda this evening, so we will move on to new business. And that is item number 6A, a public hearing and decision on a subdivision preliminary plat. So the final item on the agenda this evening is a public hearing and subsequent decision on city application PS 20-0005, which is a request for preliminary approval of Boyer Farm Estates, a 25-lot subdivision on one parcel identified as parcel RPS 0000102850A, totaling approximately 10 acres, bounded by private property to the north, Samuelson Avenue to the west, private property to the south, and North Boyer Road to the east. A notice of public hearing was published in the Bonner County Daily Bee on January 26, 2021. The order and procedure for the public hearing will be as follows. 1, an explanation of the subject of the public hearing by city staff. 2, a presentation by applicant. Please note that commissioners should address their questions to the applicant at this time. 3, opening of the public hearing, at which time the public may provide testimony. Questions should be asked of those testifying at this time. The order for those providing testimony will be as follows. A, in favor, B, neutral, and C, opposed. 4, rebuttal testimony from the applicant, at which time final questions may be asked of the applicant. Please note that if new facts are elicited during rebuttal, the public will be given an opportunity to comment on any new facts. 5, we will close the public hearing. And 6, commissioners will deliberate. No new information may be provided after the public hearing has been closed, and questions may be directed only to city staff during deliberation. Okay, before we proceed any further, I would like to ask for confirmation from each commissioner, please, that you have no ex parte contact or conflict of interest as pertains to this request. We go around and Maybe starting with John.
I have none.
Okay, Mo,
None.
Kate,
None.
Tom,
None.
Forrest,
None.
None. And none on my behalf either. So hearing no conflicts of interest, we will now hear from city staff who will provide an explanation regarding this application.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I hope you can hear me fine. We're trying something a little different tonight without the capable hand of Amanda at the helm. We're going to try sharing my screen. So I'm going to do that now, and then we'll dive into the presentation. Are we seeing the screen okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, moving to presentation mode. So tonight you're here to hear the Boyer Farm subdivision application. The site, as you noted, is situated here in this neighborhood, just west of the airport, west of Boyer Road, north of Woodland Drive, and east of Samuelson. That's just south of the county property where the jail sits. You should be getting very familiar with this neighborhood. If you're not already, we just heard an application to the south here for Cookman Estates, and you recently saw an application for the Samuelson Senior Center over here to the west. And so lots of activity in this area of the city. Just a quick reminder for you of the applicable law that we're dealing with this evening. First and foremost, the comprehensive plan establishes a community vision for development within this area and within the entire city, in fact. And then, of course, you have the zoning and subdivision codes, which are the actual law that are meant to implement that comprehensive plan. And they contain the design and development regulations in addition to the process and procedures that we're following this evening. And then, of course, there's the urban area transportation plan, which has additional regulations related to public right-of-ways and the construction of roads within a given project. Again, just a quick overview. I suspect you don't need this, but we are here at the preliminary plat stage right now, where we're reviewing the application for conformance to Titles 9 and 10 within the Sandpoint City Code, as well as the Urban Area Transportation Plan, making sure that we have adequate public services to serve the applicant's request. Tonight, you'll be making a recommendation to the City Council. And then at that point, the council will act, and presuming that it's approved, you'll see a final plat come back later on that should be in conformance with what we see tonight. By way of an overview, the applicant is requesting that this 10-acre site be developed with approximately 25 buildable lots, configured as you see here on this drawing. The north-south road that you see in the western side of the project does connect in with the stub street that was proposed by the Cookman Estates project that you saw a couple of weeks ago. There is what you can't see well here, and I will show you on a subsequent slide, is there's a large remainder parcel here that would be eligible for development with a single-family dwelling. It is a buildable lot, but it's anticipated that it will redevelop in the future. And we'll talk more about that in a second. It is notable that a portion of the site, roughly in this area here, lies within the airport lateral safety zone, and a very small portion of this most northeastern lot does lie within the inner critical zone, and that is the inner approach zone for the airport runway. The lots range in size from 6,750 feet up to 7,400 or so, for an average of somewhere in the range of 6,900 square feet. So all the lots do comply with the zoning standards. The comprehensive plan designates this area as context area 3. This blurb that you see here regarding essentially the purpose of the context area 3 was included in your staff report, and the project more or less complies with the purpose of the comprehensive plan. With regard to zoning, the site has split zoning, which is depicted here on your screen. You'll see the residential single family here to the east. That's the portion we're looking at this evening, with the residential multifamily here on the west. The project complies in all respects with the standards of the zone. All lots hit the minimum standard of 5,000 square feet and 50 feet of frontage. The preliminary plat itself looks like this. Again, this was the large lot that I was referring to previously. It would be eligible for development with the single family dwelling, although it is anticipated that we'll see a subsequent application on this parcel, probably for a multifamily. I'm sure that the applicant can speak to that. But at this point, it complies with the standards of the zone, and we don't need to worry much about what will be proposed on this in the future, as it will be reviewed under the standards at the time that it comes in. Samuelson Road on the west here will provide good access, and you'll have additional opportunity at the time that this application comes in to ensure good compliance with the comprehensive plan in terms of open space and a grid street network as the plan contemplates for this area. This being a fairly simple application and essentially an extension of what you saw just a few weeks ago to the south, that's basically all I had prepared for you, just a quick hit on the particulars of the application. As the chairman mentioned, at this point, you can ask any questions of me that you'd like, and then we'll move on to hear from the applicant and the public, and then give the applicant an opportunity to respond should we have testimony. And then you'll be able to deliberate and make a recommendation on the application. So tonight you will do one of these three things. And I think you're all well familiar with where you go from here. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and take any questions should the commission have those. Maybe I won't stop sharing the screen in case we need to look at a graphic, but I'll take any questions if the commission has those now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I do have one question. This is Commissioner Riggs. The subdivision that we approved to the south of this has instead of connecting with Boyer, it ends at the east-west road ends at a cul-de-sac, whereas this subdivision proposes to actually intersect with Boyer. Is that because it's further removed from Woodland Drive that you can make that connection?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, that's exactly right. It would have made little sense. It's not really necessary to connect both roads. And in fact, Boyer being a collector, we didn't have the required amount of space to get the 250-foot offset required by the code and the plan for that matter. And so the applicant's consultant was working on both projects, and I think they were able to determine that this was the better layout. Just, by way of further explanation, and I should have mentioned this, there is a 30-foot right-of-way that exists up here on the north side of the project that is south of the county property here. And so an alternative configuration would have been to front this southern tier of lots within Cookman on Woodland, and then to alley load another tier of lots here, and then to alley load a tier of lots here. But what that would have resulted in was all of these lots fronting and facing the county facility, which neither the applicant nor the county nor the city for that matter really were in favor of. And so this essentially is the least bad layout you could come up with given the constraints of the site. And I don't mean that in a snarky way. I just mean we are constrained given the land uses that we have around us.
Thank you.
I have a question also, Darren, about the airport overlay. There's a paragraph at the bottom of page 13 of the staff report about it. And I know the lateral safety zone, lies over several lots, and then there's a little corner, I think, of one lot that's in the critical zone. And then the final sentence of that paragraph is the final plat will be required to dimension the location of the aforementioned zones on the final plat. What do we mean by dimension the location?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, great question. And I thought, oh, I tell you what, let me do this. I'm going to stop sharing the screen and show another screen to you and see how good I am at doing this. Okay. Are you seeing the same thing?
Yeah, we're seeing that, you can see the lines of the overlay on the red rectangle.
Okay,
Showing the
great.
boundaries
Yeah,
of the development.
Yeah, and so what you're seeing there is just where those lines exist.
Mhm.
What we're asking for is that the applicant dimension those lines on the final plat, so that in addition to the note that's included on the final plat, this shows up clearly for future buyers of that property.
So by dimension the location, we mean we make it clear on drawings as well as in writing where the overlay zones are. Is that what you're saying?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, exactly right.
Okay, thank you.
Darren, can you confirm that this is a different applicant than Cookman Estates? It's the same
I'm
consultant.
sorry,
but
Mr. Chairman, I didn't quite hear the question.
Can you confirm that this is a different applicant than the Cookman Estates applicant?
Mr. Chairman, that's correct. This applicant is Carousel Holdings LLC.
Okay. Is there any issue arising from the variation in the lot sizes between Cookman Estates and this development? The Cookman Estates, I believe, had 18 lots on a similar amount of land versus 25 lots on this amount of land. Does that create any concerns?
Mr. Chairman, I do not see that as a concern. My personal opinion is that the land use is the same, single family next to single family. As these parcels lay out, the property to the north that we're looking at tonight is slightly deeper. It has a broader dimension, and so it has slightly deeper lots than the Cookman project had. But from a land use or planning perspective, I don't see an imperative to match up lot sizes any more than what they already are.
Are there any other questions for Darren?
I have none, thank you.
Okay. Next will be the applicant's presentation. As a reminder, commissioners should address their questions to the applicant after the presentation.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Marty Taylor, certified land use planner with James A. Sewell and Associates, helping out the owners of the Boyer Farms Estates preliminary plat. In the interest of brevity, this project, I will rely on the application materials, which go into detail as to how the project complies with the city's zoning codes, subdivision codes, and the comprehensive plan, and more so staff's analysis, which went into even greater detail of how the project complies with the comp plan, the zoning, and the subdivision standards. This board recommended unanimously approval of the Cookman Estates, which in fact was a more complicated project in that we had to justify the cul-de-sac and the double frontage lots. The project before us tonight, Boyer Farms Estates, has neither the cul-de-sac rationale nor the analysis of the desirability of double frontage. This is just a straight subdivision, as staff had mentioned. The council also unanimously approved Cookman Estates on January 6th, 2021. The reason for the through road, as staff had mentioned in response to Commissioner Riggs' comment, was because we could now meet the intersection spacing requirements between Woodland and North Boyer, whereas we couldn't with Cookman. To Kate's comment, we do a simple offset from the runway center line. I think the lateral safety zone is 200 feet offset Whatever it is, we simply do an offset from the runway center line and then depict that diagonal transition lateral safety zone on the final plat. So that's not a problem. And in response to Commissioner Welker's comment, the Cookman lots were a little bit wider for the express purpose of fitting a particular model house that the applicant has conceived. He needed lots that were a little closer to 60 feet in width, whereas the product for the Boyer Farms estates is a narrower lot to be developed with a narrower type of house. And then finally, Mr. Chairman, I seem to have my fingerprints on just about every project in Bonner County. And these are completely different applicants, which presented a bit of a challenge because we didn't have site control over both properties. One party owned the south piece, another party owned the north piece. What I tried to do in working with city staff was make sense, even though I had to play both hands against the middle to come up with a street network that made sense. So that's a real short story of a very long negotiation between all parties. Barring any input from the commission, we would respectfully request approval recommendation this evening to the council for the project as submitted. Thanks.
Okay. Do the commissioners have any questions for the applicant at this time?
I have a couple questions, just about the possibilities of future roads. The road to the, it's on the west side of this development. Is there any, do you envision that continuing further north, or is that kind of like the end of it because of the county property to the north there? Is there any plan that there would ever be any kind of access or road on the north side of this whole subdivision?
No to both questions.
Okay.
There is no, for the reasons mentioned in the staff report on page 9, there's a very good analysis under a footnote that explains why there is no desirability to having a property that runs along, a road rather, that runs along the south boundary of the county jail.
Gotcha.
So I foresee the north-south road stopping where it exists. As to east-west roads, depending on market conditions, we will see what the future holds as to extensions westerly to Samuelson. Thanks.
Any other questions, John?
Oh, actually, I do have one other question. The
Please.
is it the intercritical zone? Is that the airport intercritical zone? Is that going to apply to just one lot? Do we know for sure? One lot, two lots?
It's the lateral safety zone.
Right, I can see that applies to several.
It is what that's called. And that's what clips the portion of the property that retains the single-family residential zoning. When I petitioned to change the zoning last year, I specifically did not attempt to change the zoning from single-family to multifamily for that portion of this property that was within the airport overlay zone, because that was a non-starter. That was a denial. And so why do that? So only roughly the west half of the subject property was rezoned to multifamily, consistent with the senior center to the west. So that's what we will map out, is what's called the lateral safety zone.
No.
So the 30-foot right-of-way on the north side of the property is kind of being abandoned in lieu of the right-of-way being the new street that's being put in. Is that?
Abandon or vacate is a term of art, so it's still going to exist. I just don't know that it's ever going to be developed with a city standard road, because the sheriff doesn't want it, the city doesn't want it, and this particular applicant has no desire to have a block of homes facing the back of the jail.
Or more double fronting lots. If they're,
Correct.
so that right-of-way is could maybe never come to happen, but to me, it makes sense that the street is that right of way now. Because the city doesn't exactly own the property, they just have the right of way.
No, they own it. It's granted to Bonner, to the city of Sandpoint. City owns a 30-foot strip of land.
Right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Marty, if we envision the future development of the west side of this property and the Cookman Estates, I'm just wondering what the road configure, coming back to the roads, obviously the north-south road is never going to connect through onto the Bonner County property, but I'm trying to find the map here. I'm sure in the next few months or year, we'll probably hear another subdivision request for the western side of this property. What would a road arrangement look like between the road, the east-west road in this development and the east-west road in Cookman, when we think about the existing cul-de-sac and the Cookman Estates on the east side? If we were to extend a road, if a road were to be extended to the west side of the Cookman project, would we see a cul-de-sac on the west side of that road as well versus a through road in the current project? You see what I'm saying? Because we have the block length challenge again.
Understood. We're a little bit out in front of ourselves because we don't know what the plan is for those two blocks. Of course, Cookman's not on the table tonight, but for the Boyer Farm project, if there is a desire to develop Lot 1, Block 1 of Boyer Farms with a multifamily type product, then there could be no through road. It would be just a giant parking lot like you see that serves an apartment complex with a single approach onto Samuelson on the west. Similarly for Cookman, a road may not go through if the plan is to develop the west half of Cookman with a multifamily type product. If, on the other hand, the desire is more single family detached, then I would envision the Boyer Farms Road simply extending exactly due west as it does on the east side and connecting to Samuelson. And you're correct that there would likely need to be a cul-de-sac on the west side of the Cookman Road extended. For the same reason, the intersection of Woodland and Samuelson would be too close should the east-west road on Cookman continue westerly. So I think you're spot on there. It would simply be more of what we're looking at now, just mirrored. We just don't know if the desire will be for some type of attached product, some type of condominiumized multifamily building. Right now, it seems to be single family detached, but they're keeping that option open for those two larger blocks for both projects.
Thank you. That's helpful. Any other questions for the applicant?
I have none, thank you.
Okay. Okay, then, hearing none, we will now proceed. You have one, say?
I think there's a question for staff, if staff has.
Can we question staff at this time?
Does staff have any questions?
Oh. Do staff have any questions of the applicant? Is that what you're suggesting? Yes. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I don't have any questions, but I feel I should clarify two things, and that is when we see a new application on the western portion of the property, there's no reason that a multifamily project couldn't be laid out to provide connectivity between this project and Samuelson Road. And in fact, that could be a very nice layout for the two projects and make the projects fit nicely together, just how the comprehensive plan contemplates. So I would urge any future applicants to consider that sort of layout if they bring in a multifamily project. And then just one other point of clarification. I'm going to try and share my screen yet one more time so that I can show you. Let's see if I can find it here. Just a point of clarification. Can you see the GIS map now with the zoning on there in the airport zone?
I see it.
Yeah,
Okay. So we're actually dealing with two airport zones. The lateral safety zone is the area in red that you see right here. And that encompasses quite a number of lots within the project. Then we also have the intercritical zone, which is this purple line here. And I just did a quick measurement here. The GIS says this is about 117 feet. So this might clip just the two northeastern lots. But we won't know exactly where that lays until the applicant puts it on the plat. I'm just going to zone out or zoom out a little bit here so that you can see the bigger picture and what that intercritical zone is meant to show. I'm going to turn off the zoning real quick so you can see the runway better. But basically that the intercritical zone, actually I'll do this just a different way so you can see it a little more clearly. Let's see if I can make this transparent. There we go. So what you see here is that intercritical zone is really the inner approach zone for that we have on either end of the runway for the airport. And so that's the distinction between the lateral safety zone and the intercritical zone. And it just encompasses just that corner of the project there. You can see it going through the middle of the existing house on that map. So that's all I had. Thank you for allowing me to weigh in on that. If there were any questions, I'd be happy to take those.
Any questions on those matters?
No.
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
We will now proceed with the public hearing. As a reminder, if commissioners have questions for the person testifying, they should ask these questions at the time of that testimony. The public hearing is now open. For those participating on Zoom, please note that you will need a working microphone on your phone or computer to speak. When your name is called, you will see a prompt on your screen asking whether you would like to unmute. Then you will need to unmute yourself in order to be heard. Each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes. Clerk, is there anyone who would like to testify in favor of this project?
I have a hand raised. I don't know if it's in favor. Nope, that hand was taken down.
Okay.
I do not show anyone seeking to speak in favor.
Okay, is there anyone who would like to speak in neutral?
Yes.
Okay.
Jeremy Grimm?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, commissioners. Just want to speak to sort of the collective question and precedent here. As you recall, the subdivision to the south, came in below the trip generation threshold for creating and proceeding with a traffic impact study. And now this one comes in just below that threshold as well, just less than 300 daily trips. And for the record, I own Whiskey Rock Planning and Consulting. I'll be bringing forward no less than 4 subdivisions in the coming months, totaling over 80 acres in proximity, either annexed into the city or already in the city. And I guess my question is, are you paying attention to the collective cumulative impact of these smaller subdivisions that come in under that threshold of 300 trips, and just maybe something to visit with Amanda about, because it seems like that's a pretty simple way for a developer or a planner to avoid triggering that larger analysis, the trip traffic impact study. So I just bring it up because I think you're probably aware of it, but collectively, all of these smaller ones that are below that threshold will have a cumulative impact on our transportation system.
Thank you, Jeremy. Is there anyone else who would like to testify in the neutral?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, is there anyone who would like to testify who is opposed to this project?
Yeah, no, Mr. Chairman, I'm not seeing any hands raised.
Okay.
And for the record, for the recording and the video, there is no one from the public present in chambers this evening.
Great. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this proposal tonight? Okay, do commissioners have any additional questions?
None here.
None here.
Okay, there was one public comment, so I should ask before the public hearing is closed, would the applicant care to offer any rebuttal testimony?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Marty Taylor. The trip generation letter was peer reviewed at the request of city staff. You have that in your packet. The peer review concluded that this project did not warrant any off-site improvements. The peer review did look at the cumulative effects in the area at large and concluded that this project, together with what's in the area, did not warrant any off-site improvements. And so that is in the record, and that was third-party reviewed. Thanks.
With new facts, as Marty shared, the public does have a chance to respond. Is there any-
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I responded to the new information.
True, yes,
So this isn't an opportunity for additional public input.
right. Actually, yeah, so just if any new facts are elicited during rebuttal, the public must be given an opportunity to comment on any new facts. Are there any members of the public who would like to comment?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. I responded to information provided by the public.
I see, so you didn't share any,
Correct.
Well-
It's already in the record.
right, that's true. It wasn't in the staff report, it was shared, so.
Would you like to allow Mr. Graham to have another opportunity to speak, Mr. Chairman?
I think that given that there were no new facts shared, those were just a statement of the facts that were in the staff report. I think there's no need for that.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, before the public hearing is closed, would the applicant care to offer any, that is the end of the public hearing. It is now closed. It is now time for commission to deliberate. No new information may be provided and questions may be directed only to city staff during deliberation. The staff report includes suggested motions. So deliberation is open. Maybe to move things along, we'll just go around and state whether we have any comments we'd like to make or pass on the opportunity. Mo, would you like to start?
Sure. First of all, I thank you for your presentation. It's well known that I personally feel like our grid type pattern in the city is being lost. And I feel like that when I first saw this, I thought, this is actually a step towards a grid street pattern, which really will be, I don't see any traffic issues at all with this because there's two ways in it, there's two ways in and out, and there are two-way streets, I assume, right? My only concern is that it looks better than something we approved earlier, which is going in the right direction. So I feel good about it. I think this area, if we could go along the same path with the streets being, making more sense, then I'm all for it. So I feel like 25 lots is nice because, we're trying to get more, more property available to more people. So hopefully this ends up being something that's, available for people sooner than later, that is close to being affordable or as affordable as, Sandpoint can offer these days. So I'm in favor. That's all.
Thanks, Mo. Tom, do you have any comments?
I agree with Commissioner Dunkel's comments.
Kate?
Same for me. I think this is an appropriate use of this piece of land. I like the small lots. I like the grid, like Mo was saying. Hope to see more multifamily. I guess we have to do what the market wants to do, but this seems appropriate to me.
Horace?
No further comments. All good.
Right?
I'm good. I like the layout. It does have a traditional grid. I'm in favor.
John?
Yep, I agree. I think I like the street layout. It kind of corrects some problems earlier that were minor, and hopefully in the future, it'd also be ideal. I know city planner had talked a bit about some of the options. That 30-foot right of way on the north side is intriguing, and how that might be utilized by the city for pedestrian conductivity or something.
Yeah. I agree with Kate as well as Mo. I'd love to see some of this multifamily zoning taken advantage of in future proposals, but this is a real nice proposal for this property. I would urge future applicants to look at context area 3B's description of public open space. I think residents in this part of Sandpoint are going to be unreasonably far from public parks, and it'd be nice to see maybe some open space available to people who move into these neighborhoods in the future, whether that's in the development or something on a broader scale as far as expanding parks infrastructure, but that's obviously not related to this. So thanks everybody for your deliberation, for your comments. I think we're ready to hear a motion. Would anybody like to make a motion? Give you a minute to
Find it.
find the wording.
Found it. I can make the motion.
Okay, go for it, Kate.
I move the Planning and Zoning Commission, after consideration of the criteria and relevant standards of Idaho Code and Sandpoint City Code, recommend the Sandpoint City Council approve the request by Carousel Holdings LLC for a 25-lot subdivision on parcel RPS 00000102850A, totaling approximately 10 acres as submitted and documented in PS 20-0005, subject to the following conditions A through S as detailed in section 5 of the staff report. Based on evidence, records, and testimony, the reasons for approving this request are: staff has followed the notice procedures applicable to subdivisions contained in Sandpoint City Code Title 9, Chapter 9. Based on the information presented at the hearing and the placement of limitations through conditions, the application is in compliance with the subdivision and zoning requirements in Sandpoint City Code. Do I need specific justifications here, clerk?
Commissioner Huseman, that's entirely up to you.
Okay, then I'm going to end that sentence at code. And 3, the proposed subdivision is consistent with the overall planning goals and objectives outlined in the comprehensive plan.
Just a little correction for the record. The conditions in the staff report actually ended at R. So Kate, there was a mistake in the written language here. Conditions A through R as detailed in section 5 of the staff report.
Thank you, Jason.
Is that good for the record? Okay. Thanks, Kate. Do we have a second to Kate's motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, I heard John first. So that's seconded by John. I believe it's a roll call vote here. So clerk, would you like to do a roll call?
Commissioner Huseman,
Yes.
Commissioner Riggs,
Yes.
Commissioner Shuck,
Aye.
Commissioner Camp,
Yes.
Commissioner Hastings,
Yes.
Commissioner Welker,
Yes.
Commissioner Dunkel.
Yes.
Okay, that's 7 yes votes. The motion passes.
Thank you for your time.
And there are no further agenda items tonight. So we will adjourn this meeting at 6:14 p.m.
Thanks,